Good day and welcome to the latest Old Hobo video. I've entitled it Crossing Our Wake in 2025. Last spring, 2024, if you've followed this series, we visited Florida with our Hobo houseboat, and we traveled quite a distance from Sanford, Florida, on up to the north of Jacksonville to the Sound, or the area in between Amelia Island, and then back. We hit a lot of the springs, rivers and so on, and our boat is great for rivers and so on. This year, we visited by land, and in effect, we crossed our wake. We were driving across bridges that crossed our wake, literally, and I really wanted to see some of this area of the St. John's watershed and other water areas and marine areas of Florida by land, and that was the plan, plus soak up a bit of sun. At the risk of this sounding like how I spent my spring vacation, let's begin. We spent a good week of our vacation in northern Florida, and we looked at quite a few different springs and locations. We decided to visit the town of Suwannee. That's where the Suwannee River enters the Gulf. Last year, we had hoped to go on the Suwannee River. It wasn't a really well-planned trip, and there were various weather conditions and flooding that precluded that. The restaurant we wanted to eat at in Suwannee, down at the water, was closed already. It didn't stay open much past lunch. So we proceeded up the State Route 349, which travels along the northern shore of the Suwannee. We got to Manatee Springs. We'd been there a few years before. And what can you see at Manatee Springs but manatee? I highly recommend renting a kayak or a canoe and respectfully viewing the manatees. Farther up the Suwannee is the town of Brantford. I understand that in the days of steamboat travel, the river was dredged up to this point. A little bit beyond this point, 75 miles or so from the Gulf, the river has quite a few shoals and exposed rock and so on, so it's not that navigable beyond Troy Springs. Anyhow, here at Brantford, water looked not too bad. It was a little bit high, and it was a little bit fast. We're told that you can get debris in the water in the spring when you get the extra flow. Now, that's 2025. Compare it next to what we saw last year in 2024 at this time. So that's the Suwannee River. You can see here fairly significant current. We drove through some pouring rain and lightning to get here, and it's just eased off to a moderate rain right now. So some of this is excess due to rain. No doubt as water collects, it will continue. Ivy Memorial Park in Brantford also has a swimming hole, a beautiful spring. Here it is in 2025. Next, what it looked like in 2024. This is Brantford Spring. It's just nestled up against the bridge, between the bridge and the dock. The upper reaches of the Suwannee River and also the nearby branch of the Santa Fe River do get shallow and rocky in places and are better left for canoeing and kayaking and shallow draft boats. Stephen C. Foster State Park in Florida is in White Springs, Florida. Be careful you're not confused. There is a Stephen Foster Park in Georgia as well. They both claim him as a patron musician and writer. Just a note, a couple bits of trivia. Stephen Foster was never on the Suwannee River that they know of. And the other thing is that this state park you see here is not way down upon the Suwannee River. It is way, way up. And that's where we get into the narrow reaches, and it's not that navigable. A little river like this can change seasonally quite a bit, and also even day to day, hour to hour. Here is some historical data. It shows from March of this year, over about a day and a half, the water level here at this park in White Springs rose about 10 feet. That's an incredible variation. Today is April the 15th of 2025. Current water level is 56 feet to the datum at White Springs at the park. Let's look at the historical high in 1984, 83.7 feet. Wow. The mean, 32.6 feet. That means the high is basically 50 feet above average it was for that particular day. That's not even the highest ever. That's just for that day. When we look all the way to the end, what's the lowest going to be? The low was in 1934, and it was 1.6 feet. I'm told in the summer that it's not uncommon, well, it's usual that rock ledges are exposed and shelves and boulders and things like that. In some places it can be basically down to a little stream or trickle between the rocks. Our land yacht camping travels led us towards the Atlantic coast now and the Jacksonville area. The red line is the track of our 2024 trip up the St. John's. For now, we passed through Jacksonville without stopping to see anything, and we headed on up to Fort Clinch State Park on the northern tip of Amelia Island. On the way, we were able to view the ICW that we'd seen the year before, and also the length of Amelia Island was interesting to travel on. There's been some sort of fort or fortification on the north end of the island since 1736. There was some building progress prior to the Civil War, and it changed hands during the Civil War. Eventually it was abandoned by the end of the 19th century and then became a state park in 1935. We arranged for boondocking at a private residence north of Blount Island. That was very interesting to see the river behind Blount Island, and it was pretty windy and choppy. It's the type of thing that we wouldn't like on a typical day in the Hobo, but we could manage it. The next day we visited the nearby Jacksonville Zoo. Last year when we were on the water, I looked into the possibility of visiting the zoo. It's right on the water, but there's no way to access it except by car. You'd have to go to a marina and then go by car. So it was a pretty complete zoo, and there was a lot of walking, a lot of school kids during March break, but it was a very good zoo. I'd recommend it. After the zoo, we headed up the river further past the industrial areas with the ships and the container facilities, and we were headed for the downtown to a museum of sorts that we missed and weren't able to attend the previous year. Walking, there's the Gator Bowl. Here's the USS Oric, USS Oric. Guess what? The Oric is closed, just like the Museum of Science and History. Fortunately for us in 2025, it wasn't a Monday or a Tuesday, and we had to see this, and it was well worth it. This saw service in the Vietnam War, I believe also in the Korean Wars, and it's manned by naval veterans, some of them actually having served on this destroyer. At this point, it was past lunch, and there was one place that we couldn't go. We couldn't fit into our schedule last spring, and that's where we're going to eat now. It's Whitey's Fish Camp on Doctor's Lake, down at the far south tip. So we headed in there, and it is a great place on the water, a delicious meal you can enjoy while looking out on the docks and the water. At this time of year, there weren't too many boats. I think there were only a couple people tied up, but it was worth the stop. The next major point of interest along the St. Johns River is about 25 miles due south of Jacksonville, and that is Green Cove Springs. There are a lot of interesting things there. But first, I'll tell you about our camping. And why would I do that? We camped inland about 10 miles at the Mike Ray's Goldhead Branch State Park. That's a mouthful. What of nautical interest could interest the viewers of this channel there? I don't know. Perhaps it was the lunar eclipse that occurred while we were there. No, that's not it. Hey, look at that. Somebody just rolled in, and it looks like a pontoon houseboat. Why don't I go over and ask them where they're going? You sound like this guy from the internet, the wife said. And I was kind of shocked, and I said, did he leave from Sanford, Florida last year on a Hobo houseboat and spend 3 weeks and head north of Jacksonville, et cetera, et cetera? He said, yeah, you're the reason we're here. We fixed up this houseboat, and we came from Texas, and we're going to Green Cove Springs tomorrow morning to launch it. It turns out they spent 11 days on the water and really enjoyed their trip. So I'm pleased to have been the inspiration there, and I'll try not to let it go to my head. Let's get back to the St. John's River. Green Cove Springs is where it is and called what it is because of the St. John's River and because of the springs that are there. There was a history of a resort always being there. Right now there is a spring park, and at the top of it is a pool, swimming pool, public pool, and is fed by the spring. There's also a dock for itinerant boaters, and there is a charge for it. Next time we're on the St. John's, if we're here, I will, now that I know where it is and I see the facilities, I would have no problem staying there. Subsequent to the Second World War, these large wharfs, large docks were built, and hundreds of landing craft, small ships were stored here in mothballs, so to speak, after the Second World War. There exists right now a military museum run by volunteers in the area. Also, there is some manufacturing there, and there has been a history of manufacturing. There is a space shuttle tank on display. The large main tank was built here and barged to Cape Canaveral when they were running the space shuttle. If you're in the Green Cove Springs area by car, here are a couple things you could visit which have absolutely nothing to do with the St. John's River or boating. But number one is about 10 miles to the west is the Camp Blanding Military Museum. And it talks about the history of the camp prior to World War II and then Second World War for training. It was a National Guard training area. Now it's all forces training. But it's a great museum, and there is a really good static display of aircraft and other vehicles outdoors. Something else, about 5 miles west of Green Cove Springs is something a little odd, you might think, but it's the Penny Farms Retirement Community. In 1924, the fellow who J.C. Penney is named for, the stores, started buying up property, and he had sort of an idea to improve people's lives. He was giving away land if you would work it, and he started a community. And it's evolved now into a retirement community. And if you can talk to some people, you'd find it interesting. You can go inside the church that is there that he built. There is a model train society. They have a building, and if they happen to be open, it's really interesting to go in there. So it's just something on the way. It's a nice place. It has a real sense of community. Well, you might know from a previous video that we have a strange fascination with Rat Island. We have here a view from Highway 17, the bridge that crosses Dunn's Creek. We look across and we see the Rat Island Navy. Of course, it's some of the derelict boats. It assures us that nothing has changed. We look across and we see this 40-some foot cruiser parked there. It's been parked for years. Other than swinging to and fro on anchor in the wind, it's as it always has been. We do look on the west side of the bridge, and we see we have a new addition to the Rat Island Navy, this burned out hulk. And it's very reassuring to see that things are as they were. From our videos, you know that I like to share a bit about what we eat. We eat very simply but elegantly, and that goes the same for when we're camping. Here's an example of a little lunch by Janet. DeLand is further upriver. We camped in the area a few nights. One of those days that we were visiting the area, we visited the Serpentarium, and it's very reasonable and very interesting. They have a daily demonstration of milking venom. The morning that we left the Reptile Discovery Center, we headed west from DeLand to cross the St. John's on Highway 17. At that point there, at that bridge, there is the Edstone boat ramp, a very complete and very good boat ramp. Next to it is the St. John's Marina, a complete service marina. The reason we were investigating this was we would possibly use this next year when we visit the St. John's again with the boat, and we would stage and launch from here and recover the boat again afterwards. We crossed the St. John's River on Highway 17, continued west of the land towards Eustis. That night, believe it or not, we stayed at a Christmas tree farm in the middle of Florida. We were heading to Lake Eustis and the town of Eustis, and it was just coincidental. We found out there is a boat show going on there, an antique boat show. They had pieces of fine art that looked like boats. They had pieces of fine furniture that looked like boats. And they had wooden boats. There were a few boats that were affordable, but they're only affordable if you chose not to repair them. These guys had a lot of money in these boats. There also were a few Italian fiberglass boats, classic boats, bit of everything. Hydroplanes, there's a particular class, and they were doing some demonstration racing. So it was really cool. Here's a wooden boat of entirely new manufacture, and it's electric. Note the batteries. What else would you like to see at a boat show on a small, calm lake? Well, there was a club gathering of about 30 amphicars, and they were out on Lake Eustis. It was nice and calm. It's amazing how little freeboard they have. If the windows are up and the top is up, it wouldn't be quite so bad, but I sure hope they have good bilge pumps. There were vehicles from all over different states, and a couple from Ontario, and it was really neat to see these guys. They had a lot of fun. Check. For some reason, I had always thought of the amphicars as being British. They aren't. Actually, they're German-built. May we boaters never need this guy. This guy is the local Florida guy. He has about, I forget how many he said, 20 different contractors throughout that run sea-tow boats and will get you out of trouble. You know from the boating videos that we always stop for ice cream wherever. The ice cream was great, not a hint of gasoline. We spent a few days exploring the Atlantic coast and eventually made our way down to Sebastian, Florida. And we ran into this crew. Actually, this was Mel Fisher's Treasure Museum. There's one down in Key West and this one as well. Mel Fisher is famous for developing methods of wreck salvage and diving in particular. Farther south is the city of Palm Beach. I don't think we'll ever visit here with our boat. It's not our kind of sailing, and it's definitely a little beyond our price range as far as living there, boating there, doing anything there. But we saw a few sights. Of course, if we lived here, we'd have to have our stylist for Fifi, our dog. Of course, I expect we would be expected to dine frequently at Mar-a-Lago. The president wasn't in, so we made other dinner arrangements. This is Palm Beach. We took a little stroll here, but for a nice relaxed swim, we headed north a little bit to the John D. MacArthur State Park. We traveled across to the Gulf side of the state, and it's of interest to anybody boating, whatever, swimming. There is an intracoastal waterway on that side as well. We were able to swim and then dine at a restaurant, and the best kind of restaurant that I enjoy is one that has a dock out front where you could either pull up in your own boat or you can observe the other folks pulling up in their boat. Well, that wraps up our spring vacation in Florida. There are quite a few other things we did, of course, that were more of the Florida tourist nature and enjoying the sun and so on. But I hope you enjoyed this. What is next, you ask? I'm working on planning for our Erie Canal trip, hopefully in June. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll get that out as the next video publication on the Old Hobo channel.